Today, I got you covered with a few all-stars that are on the verge of returning from the IL and some top prospects that might get called up sooner than later. So stay tuned on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes to the channel and gives you notification every time we drop a new episode. But lastly, and most importantly to Matt and I, guys, join us on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth personalized experience through text messaging alerts right to your phone, offering so much more than we can in this 30-minute podcast. If you want to give us a chance on Subtext, you can find the link to our Subtext in the bio wherever you're listening or watching, or if not, it's available on any of our social media platforms. And this episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your next stay today. And all right, guys, teased it at the top. We actually really do have a bunch of great names for you today. We're going to start off with a few injured guys that are making their way back, and then we're going to talk about some awesome prospects. Must need to know names, guys. You really gotta make sure you lock in for this one, and we'll start off with a really awesome name at the top. Let's talk some Jacob deGrom. If you don't know who Jacob deGrom is, you've probably been living under a rock or you're very new to fantasy baseball. Jacob deGrom, former Cy Young Award winner, former All-Star, just literally one of the best pitchers in baseball when healthy. The unfortunate thing is we haven't seen much health from deGrom dating all the way back to about 2019. Last year, deGrom only pitched 30 innings across 6 starts, but was very good with a 2.67 ERA. And once again, in case you forgot, deGrom has made the switch over to those Texas Rangers these days. And once again, with those Texas Rangers last year, deGrom made 6 starts, 2.67 ERA, 30 innings, 45 strikeouts, only 4 walks, and had a 0.75 whip. There's just really not many pitchers that can do what deGrom can do, if any, especially when it comes to limiting the walks, the high strikeouts, the very low ERA. If you go back to 2018 and you just sift through what deGrom has done since then, when he has really made that push to the next level, deGrom has made 108 starts since 2018, 2.08 ERA over that time. That's 675 innings, 921 strikeouts, only 131 walks, with a 2.11 FIP, which is fielding independent pitching. That's an ERA indicator, and an 0.8 WHIP with he's just been that guy for a long time. Even if he comes back and just gives us maybe 10, 15 starts down the stretch, leading us all to, fantasy glory, we got to get deGrom more owned. Right now, deGrom is only 56% owned on Yahoo. So that means about half of you guys, maybe a little bit less, that are listening right now can go pick up deGrom. I know injuries have been a plenty, even of late. We just keep seeing more starting pitchers go down, and it's hard to roster injured players, but a guy like deGrom really shouldn't be floating around on waiver wires. If you ask me, he's just too good, literally top. There's a world where deGrom is the best pitcher the rest of the way. And, it's not a likely outcome, but it's definitely a possibility. And there's not many starting pitchers that you could say that about. Let's move on to this next gentleman, though, who is not as good as deGrom, but also a pretty good option to add to your team. That is Jeffrey Springs. I know we've been talking about him a lot. We've even teased him a little bit at the end of the last episode we did, but let's do a deep dive. 37% owned for Jeffrey Springs, starting pitcher, Tampa Bay Rays. He is expected to throw 5 innings in his next rehab start with AAA. And it could be his last. He might throw one more. He made the 10th rehab start of his assignment recently. He struck out 3 over 3, gave up 2, 4 hits, 1 walk, 58 pitches. It was a rain delay shorted start, though. They wanted him to throw a few more. Couldn't. There's definitely a chance that the Rays, could just throw him into the rotation with Pepio hitting the IL and just say, hey, you know what, Mr. Springs, just give us what you can for now, and we'll see how it goes. And we know how good Jeffrey Springs can be. And if you're new to fantasy baseball and you don't know the upside, let me just give it to you. In 2022, Jeffrey Springs was made a starter by Tampa, had 25 starts, 33 games overall, 2.46 ERA, 135 innings, 144 strikeouts, and a 107 whip. And then last year, before Jeffrey Springs got Tommy John, he was well on his way to be in the Cy Young conversation. 3 starts, 0.56 ERA, 16 innings, 4 walks, 24 strikeouts, 0.5 whip. He was just really doing his thing. I had him in almost every league, and it was a shame to see Jeffrey Springs go down. He is 37% owned on Yahoo. So I think we add him now. I think that's the move here with Jeffrey Springs, because if he goes out, he makes this rehab start during the week here, and it goes really well. By the end of next week, I could see him being 50-60% owned, and then if he gets the call, comes up, has a good start in his debut, that 50-60 is all the way up to 80 before we can even bat an eye. So I think you add Jeffrey Springs now. Once again, this all comes with the caveat that you can maneuver your roster in a way that you can afford having another injured player. I know it's tough right now, guys. I really, really do know it's tough. But you know what? If you have those questions, if you have a Jeffrey Springs and some other guys on the IL, like Kodai Senga, guys like that, and you have those questions, you know what? Join Matt and I on Subtext, and we will get you answers to those burning questions. So you know what? Once again, check us out on Subtext if you want to compare players and know which ones you should be keeping on your IL over others. But let's move on. Let's sneak one more guy in here before we take a break. Let's talk about Clark Schmidt of those New York Yankees, my New York Yankees, Matt's New York Yankees. Potentially your New York Yankees if you are a fan as well. And when it comes to Clark Schmidt, he was really just on a tear. He was doing really, really well for anyone who had him on their fantasy teams. He was pitching to the tune of 60 innings, 5 wins, 67 strikeouts, a 2.52 ERA, a 1.14 whip. Was just looking really good. Wasn't giving you, a crazy amount of depth in those games, but he was pitching well, Clark Schmidt. He, is throwing some bullpen sessions, threw one today as recording here on Tuesday. Everything has gone well so far. He's definitely going to need a few rehab starts. I would say at least, 3 to 4 minimum. He should be back potentially the second half of August, it looks like, for Clark Schmidt. Probably around the same time we see Jacob deGrom. Not sure if I mentioned that at the top, but deGrom is around the same spot Schmidt is. And like I said, probably around the end of August for those two guys. Clark Schmidt down to 47% owned. He's out there in over half of those fantasy baseball leagues on Yahoo. I'm picking him up, man. I'm picking him up where I can, especially those deeper leagues where the options aren't available. I know I played in a couple of leagues where I saw Clark Schmidt get dropped, picked him up, stashed him on my IL, and I'm pretty happy I have him now because starting pitching has taken a turn for the worse. I know we've had a plethora of returns of late, whether it's, Gavin Williams, and just all the guys coming off the IL. And we're getting so many more over the next, week here with the Robbie Rays and the Kershaws and guys like that. But I think Clark Schmidt has the stuff to be a difference maker. And as I said, he was literally breaking out this season before he got hurt. So, Clark Schmidt, another option for you to stash on your IL. But coming up next, we are going to talk about a bat from the Cincinnati Reds. Then I have another young starting pitcher that we're not really sure what to do with. And then after that, we will move into the prospect portions of this podcast. But once again, guys, all of that is coming up next. And this episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking. Yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're talking about your rival cities with hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com. You might just find your perfect stay even in your baseball's rival city. From hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. And guys, I always, when we talk about Booking.com, I talk about, all the times I've been to Camden Yards and how I absolutely loved it. And, just going to watch those Baltimore Orioles that are super competitive now play against my Yankees. You kind of almost forget, you just get lost in the sauce and just enjoy some baseball. So once again, the right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com or the Booking.com app. Guys, it is that easy. And now let's talk about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks. You can just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch all of the winnings roll in. Exploring my skills on Prize Picks this season adds an extra layer of excitement to daily fantasy sports. With just a few taps, you can transform $10 into $1,000 easily. Prize Picks is incredibly user-friendly. You can make selections and submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. And as the host of Locked On Fantasy Baseball, here are some rock-solid picks. Opt for Rookie of the Year candidate Paul Skeens to have higher than 8 strikeouts in his next start. And guys, the way that he's pitching, that's a lock. Opt for Jose Ramirez to have higher than 1.5 total bases at his next outing. And Jose Ramirez, MVP candidate himself, I think that's an easy one. Or opt for Bobby Witt Jr. to have higher than 0.5 home runs in his next game. And Bobby Witt Jr. has been swinging for those fences after the home run derby, so I think that one is a good bet as well. Just download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It is that easy. And are you watching Fox Sports on your TV or ESPN all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch over to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for your everyday to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And then once again, Matt and I are introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on the Subtext platform, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. As the season continues to unfold, you can rely on Matt and I for our dynamic content. Get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant club notifications, injury reactions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of your fantasy league by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where the path to your victories begins. Subscribe now and elevate your fantasy baseball experience to a new level. And guys, thanks for sticking around and through all of those little ads there. But we do definitely appreciate it. And if you did, I got some more great names for you. So you know what? Good for you guys. Let's talk some Matt McLean. Matt McLean was a breakout player last year. Took those Cincinnati Reds by storms, and he did the same with our fantasy teams. And if you picked him up last year, you thoroughly enjoyed it. Let's read those numbers from Matt McLean from last year for you guys. 89 games from McLean last year, 365 at-bats, 65 runs, 23 doubles, 4 triples, 16 homers, 50 RBIs, 14 steals, and he hit 290. And McLean's underlying stuff, pretty much backed up a lot of what he did. The stuff in the minors, through McLean's track record, speaks for itself. A little bit of power, a little bit of speed, and he just plays for a great team too. Give us the counting stats we're looking for, and he plays those middle infield positions. Let's see what Yahoo, I believe 3 positions at least for McLean on Yahoo. Let's see what they're doing with him. No, 2. So we got second and short for McLean on Yahoo. Hasn't really ramped it up yet. Mr. McLean. But, as I was talking about, just what he can bring to the table. Last I had heard, we're looking at a late August, early September return for McLean. But for what he can, really do for your fantasy teams, which is, good sprint speed, guy's fast, hits the ball pretty hard, barrels it up pretty well, knows how to find that sweet spot, doesn't chase a lot. Is just a pretty good baseball player. And at 24 years old, I think McLean is the guy that we're going to be talking about for years to come. Right now, McLean is 45% owned on Yahoo. Second base is tough if you lost an Ozzie Albies. Even shortstop is another position that's been harder to fill if you lost the Correas and guys like that. I think McLean is, like I said, not the answer right now. Maybe we have to wait a month for him to return. But when he gets back, I think the output that we're going to see from him is going to be well worth the stash now. And, I hate to keep saying it, but once again, if your team is already banged up, it's going to be tough to make some of these stashes. But, evaluate. Say, what, is McLean better than X player that I have already stashed? And if you do need help with those questions, join Matt and I in Subtext. We got those answers for you. I'm more than happy to help out. But let's move on to our last injured stash, and it's Jesus Luzardo. This is a deep cut, guys. This is a deep one. This is more of if you can go out there and acquire Luzardo and keeper dynasty stuff like that, for 50 cents on the dollar, something like that. I think we do it because you know what? Luzardo's not throwing yet after going down with, that lumbar stress reaction. So I'm not 100% sure when we're going to see him, but I know better days are ahead. I think this is an injury that's been bothering Jesus Luzardo's back for a while. Once again, Jesus Luzardo is pitching with those Miami Marlins. It's just tough. It's just tough. He's down to 52% owned. So honestly, he's probably out there, in a lot of you guys' leagues that are listening. If you have the spot, stash him. He probably, out of everyone we're talking about today when it comes to pitchers, probably near the bottom for me personally. But I know the upside of a Jesus Luzardo. He's been really good in his career before. Definitely shouldn't be sitting on waiver wires. And in keeper dynasty, like I said, I think this is the time to go out and buy because you see the numbers. He's under a K per 9. ERA's at 5. Whip isn't looking good. I think strike while the iron's hot. That's the name of the game in fantasy baseball. If you can capitalize in value on a name like this, I think you go out and get it done. Not really too much to add here. Not too much applicable for redraft. If he is out there on your waiver wire redraft and you have the spot, once again, I'm adding him. I'm definitely doing it. Just a guy that we're not sure where he is, in the return process or how far he is out exactly. I don't like the fact that he hasn't even thrown bullpens yet. I will say that. But you know what? We can take advantage in certain areas, and that's what I think we should do. Let's move into the prospect portion of this podcast, and honestly, probably the more exciting half. So I think you guys need to stick around until the end. Let's talk about Dylan Cruz. Dylan Cruz is somebody that, honestly, I'm not sure if we've talked about on this podcast yet, but if not, well-deserving. He was the number 2 overall pick in 2023. Mr. Cruz went to those Washington Nationals, could join James Wood and the rest of those boys, honestly, sooner than later. Known for his hit tool. He's got some power. He's quick as well. Mr. Dylan Cruz is that kind of like do-it-all player. He's 5'11", 203. He's got a good solid frame on him. And honestly, has been really good. Has struggled a little bit in AAA. On the year through 2 levels, which is AA and AAA, Dylan Cruz has hit 268 through 74 games with 41 runs, 9 homers, 16 doubles, 3 triples, 52 RBIs, 27 walks to 69 strikeouts with 20 steals as well. Do we see Dylan Cruz this year? I think it's possible. He just gets a cup of coffee so Washington can see what they're working with. Get that young lineup once again. Wood, Abrams, Cruz, the rest of those boys, Lane Thomas. They could be a problem in a few years. They really could be a force to be reckoned with. I think the Washington Nationals just got to acquire some pitching there too. But when it comes to Dylan Cruz, definitely a name you should be looking out for. This is a guy who's going to be an all-star. He's going to be a fantastic player. He's 22 years old. So honestly, even if we don't see him this year, I think Dylan Cruz is a guy that you need to know his name because he could potentially make the team, coming out of spring training next year. But coming up next, I got a couple of good names for you. I got Coby Mayo, we got Emanuel Rodriguez, and then we got a couple of more prospects for you after that. But once again, those names are coming up next. And guys, we're talking about our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of the Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. With their last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concert, comedy, and theater. With their flash deals, you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. Their zone deals save you even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. They're all-in pricing. When you toggle this feature, it shows you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Their seat views give you a panoramic view from the seat you'll actually be sitting in the app before you buy it. Their lowest price guarantee, if they have that, Game Time will credit you up to 110% of the difference. And then Game Time's ticket coverage policy, your ticket is always covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, their lowest price is always guaranteed. And all right, guys, I promised it, so we're going to do it. I got a couple more good names for you. Let's just get right into it. Let's talk some Coby Mayo of those Baltimore Orioles. And it's just, for the next, I'd say at least 2 to 3 years, we're going to keep talking about this young Baltimore farm system. They've just done a fantastic job over there, and Coby Mayo is no exception. Coby Mayo, Baltimore Orioles, he is the 18th prospect in all of baseball, according to MLB.com. Coby Mayo is 6'5", 230, big, beefy baseball boy, known for his power and his powerful arm as well. Really can get it done when it comes to, hitting home runs. Honestly, the batting average has been great pretty much all through his minor league career, with 2022 being the exception to that rule. This year, minus Coby Mayo, 305 batting average, 72 games, 55 runs, 21 doubles, 2 triples, 22 homers, 63 RBIs, and 3 steals. Not much of a base stealer, but like I mentioned, he's really known for that power. Coby Mayo hit 29 homers last year in 140 games. Just a guy that, some of these guys are going to stick there. I think Baltimore's experimenting. They're seeing which of these guys can make that transition from AA to AAA. We've seen them call up a bunch of prospects over the last couple of years. I think we see Coby Mayo at the end of the year. Coby Mayo is a name that I think comes up, gets a cup of coffee at the end of the year, especially if some of these other guys, keep struggling, the, Heston Kjerstads and the Colton Cowsers of the world. Like I said, Baltimore's willing to give these guys a shot. I think Coby Mayo is going to be another one that we see. Honestly, might just be a little bit of a cup of coffee for him. But Coby Mayo, just got to remember the name because the power is real. And in that Baltimore lineup, you can see some good runs, some good RBIs, and the batting average tool looks like it's growing when it comes to Coby Mayo, even in AAA so far this year at 68 games, 297 batting average there. So Coby Mayo really getting it done. I definitely think you got to keep the name in the back of your head and throw him on your watch list at minimum for now. Let's move on. Let's talk some Emanuel Rodriguez, outfielder from the Minnesota Twins. Rodriguez, another name that I don't think we've talked about a great amount on this show, but he's really taken another step this year and has just been really dominant across 2 levels. That's rookie ball and AA for Emanuel Rodriguez this year. Combined 298 batting average, 39 games, 41 runs. So that's over a run per game, 14 doubles, 2 triples, 8 homers, 22 RBIs with 9 steals. Rodriguez, plus power, plus run tool. The defense is something that looks good. 5'11", 210, has a good frame on him. I think it's going to be interesting. And, he's a lefty as well. Minnesota, there's room. There's room. They got some injuries. I know Royce Lewis is on his way back. But another guy that, Minnesota, just if they need that surge in their bat, in that lineup, and you just want to bring up a big bat, I could see it. I think there's a room. They're, a playoff team, a contender at, 5-5 in the last 10. So maybe the shakeup is something they need. Maybe it's something that's coming around the corner. So once again, Emanuel Rodriguez of those Minnesota Twins, a name that we're going to keep our eyes on and just see where things go with it. Let's move on to our only pitching prospect of the day. Let's talk about Noah Schultz of the Chicago White Sox. I think the White Sox are going to be wheeling and dealing a lot here at the deadline. I think we see guys like Luis Robert and Eloy Jimenez and the Mike Clevingers of the world all get talked about in, trade rumors. And Noah Schultz could be a guy that benefits from it. We could see some of those pitchers. We talked about Garrett Crochet the other day. Another name that could be on the move. So with Noah Schultz, rotation spot could open sooner than later. And he's a guy who's been performing very, very well in the minors. Noah Schultz is the 37th prospect in all of baseball, according to MLB.com. And across 2 levels this year, he's actually been better in AA, the higher level. But let's do a combined for Noah Schultz. 15 starts on the year in the minors, 2.91 ERA, 58 innings, 76 strikeouts, only 13 walks, and an 0.92 whip for the young Noah Schultz. This is a guy who was, drafted in the first round of 2022, has the prospect pedigree, is more known for his slider and fastball than anything else, and that's a very common combo that we see in today's day and age. Fastball gets up to 97. He's also working on that changeup from what I've been reading. And, if he can get that third pitch going in there, he's, going to be really scary. And he's already scary enough to face on the mound. Noah Schultz is 6'9", 220. Got that Randy Johnson frame on him. Imagine stepping up to the mound and you got to deal with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball from Noah Schultz, then hits you with that slider and the changeup he's working on too. Noah Schultz, chance we see him this year? I think so. I think they want to see him and Thorpe in the rotation side by side. Potentially the 2, big young guns for them going forward. So definitely Noah Schultz, one of my favorite prospects we're talking about today, and probably the one most likely to get the call sooner than later. Let's move on to today's last name. Let's talk some Roman Anthony, who plays for those Boston Red Sox. Actually won the skills showcase for the minor leaguers this year. Was pretty cool to see. Roman Anthony, has a big bat, 6'2", 200 pounds, got some power. Has been mediocre this year in the minors after good couple of first seasons. 244 batting average in AA for Roman Anthony. But once again, this is a guy that we could kind of see of the Josh Young type, of the, Adrian Beltre type, where, a lot of power, good batting average, potentially good skills, actually does chip in a little bit of speed as well. So, let me throw the Adrian Beltre comp out the window now. But you know what? I really want to see what this kid can bring, because last year, Roman Anthony, let me read you what he did across 3 levels last year. And, tell you the reason that I am kind of excited. 272 batting average, 106 games for Roman Anthony last year, 78 runs, 27 doubles, 4 triples, 14 homers, 64 RBIs, 86 walks to 119 strikeouts with 16 steals. So we're talking about a kid that, brings multiple facets to the game, to your fantasy team. Is there a chance he gets the call this year? Maybe with Boston, being pretty much out of it. There's a chance that they want to fight and they want to see what they have in Roman Anthony, and could be that boost to the lineup we've seen what Brooks Lee has done for those Twins. So maybe the Red Sox want to do something similar. We'll see. I like him. I like Roman Anthony. I'm an owner. I have him stashed in a couple of leagues myself, dynasty leagues, of course. But guys, that is all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Also, shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. But guys, until tomorrow, see ya.